Good morning, world. Well, at least it's morning time here in the U.S. If you're tuning in from another country, happy day to you, whatever time it is, and welcome to the Patriot Party. I'm Matt, and I'm so happy to be here starting off the weekend with all y'all guys and gals. But before we get started, there's a few things I'd like to go over. If you're new to the show, I'd like to take you on a quick tour so you know what to expect. And all y'all loyal listeners, this would just take a sec, so please bear with me. What we do here, we do news, we do general news, we do political news, we do world news, we do geopolitical news, we do financial news, we do tech news. Sometimes we do our very own truth news. We do celebrity news and gossip. We do sports. We do new movies and TV shows and their descriptions. And then we do my personal pick of the week from my collection, which are shows and movies that come highly recommended by yours truly. At the Patriot Party, we are an all-immersive, giving you entertainment news done like never before to get you caught up on everything that interests you in one place. If you enjoy the content, we ask that you please follow and share the channel. In the description of the video, we have also included links to our X, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok accounts. On Apple Podcasts, these links are clickable, but on other platforms, they are all jumbled up. So we included page names for your convenience. So you can look and see and type the page name into each platform and visit us. We encourage you to visit our pages and check out the content. We think you would enjoy it if you enjoy the show. I encourage you to submit questions, comments, or even topic suggestions on Spotify, or just DM me on X, on the X page. The link is in our description, or you can just come over to X and type in the Patriot Party. Thank you so much for your support, because without y'all, we wouldn't be here. And now to the show. And boy, do we have a show for y'all today. So first, Trump has done an executive order. He's aiming to revitalize Washington, D.C., and he has called the executive order Making Washington the Greatest Capital City in the World, establishing the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force. This task force aims to enhance safety through increased law enforcement, coordination, and promote aesthetic improvements in Washington, D.C., including the removal of graffiti and homeless encampments. Local officials will collaborate with the task force, though the initiative, and this always happens, has sparked discussions on federal intervention in local governance. So you always have critics. But here's the thing. And I had to double check myself, but I was pretty sure I was right, and I did end up being right on this. Washington, D.C. is a federal district. So I don't know why they're so caught up on local governance, because it is a federal district. It's not a state district. It's a federal district. If you go to Washington, D.C., and you get a little charge, a little misdemeanor, you're going to go to federal court. You're not going to state court, because it only is a federal district. Therefore, he is well within his rights to do what he's doing. But of course, you're always going to have critics. Now, over the last couple of months, since Elon Musk called this agency a nest of vipers, we have found a lot of fraud and heard about a lot of fraud in the U.S. aid. And then we had the Supreme Court, and of course, Amy Coney Barrett, which seems to be ruling liberal these days, rule against Trump, who tried to freeze the money, the billions of dollars that we found out was being mismanaged. Well, then they found a workaround. Mark Rubio, he was able, as the State Department, to step in and say, well, you know what? If you are going to rule against what Trump was trying to do, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So, okay, out of the 6,000 odd programs, we're going to cut it down to 1,000 that have America's best interest. Well, now they are closing the U.S. aid, and they are merging the functions with the State Department. So the U.S. State Department has officially announced the closure of the United States Agency for International Development, integrating its functions into the State Department. This decision has led to the dismissal of nearly all non-statutory U.S. aid staff. Figures like Donald Trump, Mark Rubio, and Elon Musk have been associated with this policy shift, although their direct involvement isn't explicitly detailed. And then we have critics that argue that this move might compromise America's global aid leadership and local economic impact. Well, you know what it doesn't do? Or you know what it does do? It aligns with the America First agenda. And if I haven't said it before, I may not go with one party or the other, but what I am is a conservative, America First patriot who believes and holds the Constitution above all. So this aligns with my agenda as well across all platforms that we are on and our community that we formed on X, which if you go to our X page is at the very top of the page, America First Constitutionalist. Now, Trump has proposed the deduction for U.S.-made car loan interest, which would be a federal tax deduction. He has announced a new tax policy where Americans can deduct interest payments on car loans from their federal income taxes, but only if the car is manufactured in the United States. Now, this would cover foreign cars that are manufactured in the United States. I believe that this is him on the back end, kind of trying to backpedal a little bit on this and offset this 25% tariff, because the 25% tariff has ended up affecting domestic manufacturers like Ford and GM, because they get all their parts in and then they assemble them here. So the tariffs did not only affect foreign cars, it affected domestic cars. So now he is trying to help the American people by giving them this. So it's almost like rob Peter to pay Paul. And we're going to get more into the tariffs here in a minute. And I know we keep going on and on about them. We've talked about them for months. And I don't know if, how far back the podcast started talking about them. But you can go on to the my lives, and we talked about them before the election. And I have never agreed with the strategy. I've always said that this is too broad. It needs to be more narrowed, and it needs to be more precise. And it's proving my view is proving it's coming to fruition, as we will go over later on in the news and as will continue to come up in stories. This will also be very confusing because there are certain kinds of foreign cars that are assembled here in the United States, like a Hyundai, and I'm just giving an example, I don't know, but because there's a whole slew of them, but just as an example, like a Hyundai hybrid whatever, or a Honda Civic hybrid, or so many different kinds of cars that they're going to have some kind of federal database where you can click in or put your serial number or something that tells you what cars are deductible for interest. Now, on to another thing that the tariffs are affecting. Trump is having to consider bailing out farmers amid tariff impact. The Trump administration is considering a bailout package for American farmers affected by recent tariff impositions. Here's the thing, y'all, and we've explained this before, is that the tariffs are charged to the U.S. industries that are importing the goods in, and they are paid to the government, and then the higher cost then goes to the consumer, which is us. Now, having to do bailout packages to compensate for the tariff, guess where that cost goes? The taxpayer. our deficit. This is not good, but it gets much worse. But we'll get there in a little while. We'll get there when we get to financial news. So there's a new JFK video. There's a new JFK video that has come out, and apparently it challenges the lone gunman theory. Representative Anna Pauline Luna has alleged that NBC is in possession of a previously unreleased video that shows Lee Harvey Oswald near President John F. Kennedy's vehicle at the time of the assassination. This footage is verified. If this footage is verified, it could challenge the long-held belief that Oswald was the lone gunman, suggesting CIA involvement or a conspiracy. Efforts are underway by Representative Luna to obtain this footage for further examination. Now, I say that sunlight is the best disinfectant, but this tape didn't magically appear, and they haven't had it since the crime. Because if they had, somebody would have leaked it before now, and if the CIA had known about it, they would have come in and they would have taken possession of it. So it is my opinion that what has happened is that we went over that 80,000 pages were released out of 227,000 pages, and 70% of it was redacted of the JFK documents. And all those redactions are done by the CIA in violation of the 1992 JFK bill that's supposed to show transparency. Well, this would just blow that apart. This would make it where the House and the public could start putting pressure and saying, wait a sec, your redactions are BS. Your redactions aren't to protect people that are probably no longer alive. They're to protect you from what you did. So what I believe is somebody in the agency is tired of the CIA's games and is sympathetic to Trump's desire for transparency. And they got a hold of it, and they, anonymously gave a tip of putting it in a drop box or location and got it to a news network because they knew it was going to get out. And once it got out, you couldn't put it back in. That's what I believe. It was like Pandora's box. They were going to start the snowball or start the first domino. They were going to open Pandora's box because they were sympathetic to Trump and what he wanted, and they were tired of and it could have been the new director, Ratcliffe. They were tired of the CIA moving with impunity in the shadows. So, Jasmine Crockett, God, she is such an idiot. She is such an idiot. So she comes out and she highlights the economic contributions of undocumented immigrants, stating they contribute approximately $100 billion in taxes annually, which funds going into Social Security from which they cannot withdraw. Now, before we get into how she absolutely knows nothing about business or numbers or profit margins or anything like that, and it was an idiotic statement, we can also say now has come out that there are a bunch of Social Security numbers who have been millions that have been issued to non-citizens who are now able to take advantage of Medicaid and other government programs and draw off of those. But let's just go off the numbers that we know, because we don't even know those numbers. Those are just new, and they're just hitting the sunlight. So, okay, let's say $1 billion. I was like, okay, but that doesn't sit right with me. I just don't feel that offsets what all the illegals are costing the state and the federal together. So I started digging. And I said, in my research, what is state and federal? What are the illegals costing us? And I had to get a range. So the range is between 200 and 451 billion a year. So it's 2 to 4 times as much as they are contributing. Now, this woman obviously has no business sense, because you can't stay in business. You're losing double to triple or plus the money that you're investing. Nobody can stay in business that way. But she comes out and acts like they're making money. All she had to do was literally, it took me like a couple of minutes worth of research. But this just shows how idiotic these Democrats are. It's no different than when Nancy Pelosi comes out and says, hey, let's start the process of putting Joe Biden on Mount Rushmore. Now, needless to say, his face doesn't deserve to be up there with those other great men, but it can't be, because the mountain is not structurally, the rocks aren't structurally sound enough to put another face up there. That's why there's that face squeezed in between two faces, because he couldn't put a face on the other end. So it literally took me 1 minute to type in Google to find out that you cannot add another face to Mount Rushmore. She couldn't even be bothered to look it up. She just goes on, television and says, this is what needs to happen. Let's start the process. These people are freaking idiots. But this is coming from the same woman who went to law school, had to get her law degree out of a Cracker Jack box, because she says, it is not illegal to illegally cross the border, to illegally enter the country. Now let's listen to that just for a minute. It's not illegal to illegally come in this country. And that was verbatim out of her mouth. That is the most juxtaposed oxymoron statement I have ever heard. Even if you had no law training and you knew nothing about the law, if you were in probably elementary school and somebody says it's not illegal to do something illegal, they would know that that's a false question, or a false statement, a false statement. Then she comes out. Now, she's already come out and said stuff about Greg Abbott, said that, the Republicans like Ted Cruz need to be physically confronted, calling for violence. Then she comes out and makes this racist statement about one of her coworkers, about Representative Brian Donalds. He's married to a white woman. And she says, Donalds is skin folk who ain't kin folk. I mean, where did they get this person from? She literally sounds like they went and they got her out of the ghetto, like a hood rat. Like, you should be dancing on a rap video if you're pretty enough to do that. I don't even think you are. But if you are, you have no place representing the American constituents in the Capitol, fighting over eyelashes. And I mean, it is a disgrace to our country. She is a disgrace to our country. I don't understand why people, when Trump says, if you do this, I'm going to do this. He told the colleges, if you allow anti-Semitic protests that ostracize, discriminate against Jewish people, I am going to, if you allow these pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian protests, I am going to withhold federal funding. If you're not a naturally born U.S. citizen, you're going back to your country. And if you are, you're going to jail. These people do it anyway. These colleges allow it anyway. Everybody talks about free speech. Free speech protects us against the government. A private entity like Columbia University, where a lot of this is going on, is not bound by free speech. They can have their own policies and bylaws, and they're not bound because they are a private entity. Only the government. And I don't understand why people don't understand that. So Columbia allowed it, and Trump withheld $400 million from them in funding. And they got the organizer of the protest, Khalil, who was a Palestine Columbia University graduate, and he had graduated already, and they found out that he lied on his green card, and so they're holding him, and they're going to eject him from the country. And so the School of International and Public Affairs at Columbia, the graduates, at their graduation, in defiance, they publicly destroy their diploma and tear it up. I think you are held to a standard when you go to any college, but especially an Ivy League school. So, and Columbia's right up there with Ivy League schools. I believe that there is precedent under the University Judicial Board evaluation to revoke those diplomas for violating school policy, because you're expected to act in a certain manner when you are receiving them. You have disrespected the school. You have disrespected what the school stands for. Now, I'm not saying you got to do your 4 years over again, but I'm saying there's got to be something in there that makes you have to do something above and beyond to get that diploma back. You know, if you get in trouble for something minor, you might have to do community service. There's got to be something that makes you do something additional. Help with a summer class. Help clean the campus. Do something that makes you earn that diploma back, because at this point in time, you have lost it. But that's just my belief. Because if you go into, let's say you graduate, one of these universities as a lawyer, and you go into court and you show your tail, the judge is going to throw you in jail for contempt. You are expected to hold yourself in a certain manner when you graduate from these places, these high-end places. And I say any college. And it has nothing to do with freedom of speech, because they are not bound by it. They're not a government institute. So like we just said a minute ago, they found out, Doge, Elon, that Social Security numbers issued to non-citizens has increased from 270,000 in 2021 to 2.1 million in 2024. And this allows them to get benefit programs like Medicaid. It also is the first step to being able to vote in elections. Now, sometimes I tell you, I think Trump says and does things that he may not actually be expecting any action on. He just chums the water to see what actually comes back. And I hope this is one of those things, because here he is exploring another term. Now, this goes against the Constitution. This goes against the 22nd Amendment. It was put there after FDR. He did 3 terms. It was during wartime, a world war. It was the whole different scenario. But then they put in they made a Constitution amendment where it could never happen again. Trump is actually looking at potential political and legal ramifications. Do your job, Trump. Get a good successor, whether it be J.D. Vance or whoever. And don't give the other side any more ammunition to call you a dictator. You would be almost 87 years old if you tried to do a 3rd term. Lay down. Be the man, the puppet master, the man behind the man at that point. And you might not have to worry about it if you continue with what's going on with the tariffs once I tell you about what's going on in the markets. Because people lose enough money and loyalty starts going out the window real quick when people lose food off their table, when people can't eat, when people's children start to be hungry. And we'll go over that in a minute. Now, the most ridiculous story came out of the UK the other day. I don't know who would want to live there. So they suspended toddlers that were 3 and 4 from a nursery school because they were accused of having transphobia and homophobia. A 3 and 4 year old. And then if you look at their records, they have suspended or permanently kicked out of school 94 students from state primary school. Primary school. What is going on over there? And I'm telling you, if the left had won, we were headed in that direction. Maybe not in the next 4 years, but we were headed in that way. Here goes another thing Trump said. Nobody wants to listen to him. Trump said there have been attacks at Tesla dealerships, firebombs, shooting into, lighting Teslas on fire, shooting. And I don't understand it. Why are people mad at Elon Musk for finding fraud and government waste? Why aren't they mad at the wasting of their tax money or the people committing the fraud? It makes no sense. It's ass backwards. But they're mad at Elon. Don't shoot the messenger. If I was Elon, I would be mad. I would be mad. You know why I would be mad? Because since Elon has taken on this responsibility, since Elon has become a part of this administration to try to help America, to try to save money, to try to help us pay down our deficits, talking about giving us a $5,000 Doge dividend, he has lost between 121 and 150 billion dollars from his net worth. Do you realize that is the complete fortune, excuse me, of Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos of Amazon? He's lost their fortune for trying to help America. Well, Trump said, if you get caught, you are now labeled a domestic terrorist. Well, guess what? They caught the first one. Well, don't think if you're the first one, you're not going to be made, you're going to be the example guy or girl. Just so happens here, this guy. So they catch him for firebombing. And the DOJ charges him, the Tesla firebomber, and they're seeking 20 years. He's lucky he's not getting life for a domestic terrorist charge. Really, in the federal system. Federal system, do you know how many people that are in the federal system right now with marijuana charges that have life, even though it's legal in 38 states medically, or 40 states? They are in the federal system with life, and you're labeled a domestic terrorist, and you're fussing, and people are fussing about 20 years. That's a violent offense. You know how many people get 20 plus years for non-violent offenses in the federal system? You know how many people are in there that they say are victimless crimes? How do you commit a crime with no victim? But people want to fuss about this. Now give it to him. Give it to him, and give it to every one of them that are attacking the businesses of a man who has lost a fortune. I mean, I can't even comprehend $150 or $120 billion to help America, to help us. So Elon, he finds where the government has tried to delete financial data. Well, why would they delete it? If there wasn't something there, they didn't want to find it. That's why these people are talking so bad about him. That's why these Democrats are going after him so hard and trying to turn the American public against him. And these sheeple, that I call them, just follow and lap up whatever they hear on Chicken Noodle News, CNN, or whatever liberal propaganda news they're listening to. Well, guess what? Elon and his team said, y'all government officials don't know what you're doing. Y'all don't know how to really delete something. We recovered everything. We recovered the whole terabyte of financial data that you tried to delete. Oh, and apparently there's some alleged crimes on here. That's why they're giving such a hard time, because they realize people are getting ready to start going to prison. Do you think they would really be fighting this hard against him saving the taxpayers' money and finding fraud, finding crimes, if they weren't the perpetrators of the crimes? It's like RFK Jr. said when he was in front of Congress before any of this, when he was talking about misinformation and the government censorship. He said the government wouldn't be so concerned about censoring people for misinformation if it was lies. They're only worried because it's the truth. It's the truth, y'all. And that's what's going on here. These people are running around, these Nancy Pelosi's who have made $250 million on a government salary. All these millionaires that didn't have a pot to piss in before they took office, and they've made all this money off the American people and taxpayers' backs. And he's exposing it, and he's going to expose it. And he's losing a fortune beyond what any of us can even imagine. He was pegged to be the first trillionaire in the next 3 to 4 years. He's not going to be that anymore. But you know what? That shows that he is a selfless, America First patriot. I don't care if he was born here. He's more of a patriot than any of these freaking Democrats running around talking bad about him on the Daily Show, clapping when they're showing pictures and cheering of his dealerships being attacked. You know how anti-American that is? Or Tim Walz cheering the fact that Tesla's being attacked, yet not to think of all the jobs and the people losing money on it, but his own state pension was heavily invested in it. His own state employees were losing retirement money. These people are evil idiots. So Susan Crawford, this big, huge election where Elon was trying to back the other candidate, apparently won up in Wisconsin, the one where he was saying was a really important election. You had Soros and the other in the shadow crooked people backing this woman, and you had Elon backing the other one. Well, she won. And this is what the article says. On April 1st, Wisconsin held an election for a Supreme Court seat, resulting in the victory of Judge Susan Crawford. Alongside the judicial election, Wisconsin voters approved Question 1, amending the state's constitution to include a voter ID requirement. So that's good. The election saw significant financial involvement from various billionaires, with Elon Musk contributing $25 million to support candidate Brad Shamil, who ultimately lost to Crawford. Reports indicate that the high turnout was partly in response to Musk's involvement. People just want Musk to lose, is what they're saying, with Milwaukee running out of ballots due to the large number of voters. Now, this is what I don't understand. That's what they say. But Trump won Wisconsin, and Trump won Pennsylvania. But yet we've just had two Democrat liberal people win, but yet approval for Democrats is at the lowest it's ever been. General approval is 21%. Approval within its own party is 40%. It's never been that low. How are they winning these elections? That's my question to you. How are they winning these elections when their approval has never been as low as it is now? Now, there was a rumor, but it was debunked, that Elon was going to be stepping back from the Trump administration and concentrating on his businesses, but that was debunked. And, like I said a minute ago, on how much he'd lost, the exact numbers are between 121 and 148 billion. I said 150. I rounded it up. That's a huge amount of money. I mean, if he stepped back, could you blame him? He's being ostracized. They're acting like they hate him. So we have Judge Chin. He blocks Trump's termination for Venezuelan to deport 350,000 Venezuelans and in their temporary protected status. So here's the thing. A lot of people are saying it's checks and balances. Then you got some people saying it's overreach of judicial authority, challenging presidential authority or executive authority. So I looked into it. He's an Obama judge, and he is only relying on echoes of constitutional and administrative law. And the fact that he used in his dissent or in his writing of the case, he used derogatory statements about President Trump and Kristi Noem, make the ruling appear more activist than not. So if he hadn't have used that in there, but he is only relying on echoes of constitutional and administrative law. So it seems like he is an activist. And they need to look into it. Now, I tell you what, Florida, DeSantis, they are always in tune with Trump. So they arrest MS-13 gang members. It's called Operation Shadow of the Beast. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced the arrest of 3 MS-13 gang members in Florida on first-degree murder charges. So Florida, Pam Bondi. The arrests are part of Operation Shadow of the Beast, which has led to the solving of 4 local homicides connected to MS-13 gang activity in the Broward and Palm Beach counties. The crime in question occurred in 2014 and 2015, and the arrests are the result of a long-running investigation. Authorities are considering seeking the death penalty for the accused. You won't let us deport them? We'll kill them. If they're going to kill our American citizens, and you're going to stop us from deporting the people that are causing our American citizens harm, we will prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Trump's order on non-citizen voting challenged by Democrats. President Donald Trump issues an executive order aiming to prevent non-citizens from voting in U.S. elections. It's common sense. It's common sense. In Mexico, you get a special voter ID, so they know you're a Mexican citizen. But here, Trump put something together so non-citizens can't vote in U.S. elections, and what happens? The DNC, along with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, file a lawsuit challenging the legality of this order. They argue that the executive order interferes with state-managed processes. A separate investigation revealed that over 5 million non-citizens obtained Social Security numbers, and some of these individuals were found to be registered to vote in certain states. So the Democrats want the non-citizens to vote because they know they will vote for them, because they know that the borders will be open. And they can come in and get benefits and free food and free housing, checks, everything. Then we have the House, who stalls on the SAVE bill. It fails on April 1st, a procedural vote in the House. A small number of Republicans, the Republicans are joining with the Democrats to reject it. This is a bill that is aimed at election integrity. It also is aimed to repeal certain Biden administration regulations. Please, somebody tell me why. Why shouldn't we have not only free and fair elections, but safe and protected elections for U.S. citizens only? Now, Trump has announced a $5 trillion investment. Now, he says it's on new tariffs, but it's just companies that are agreeing to invest in the United States. We had a $500 billion commitment from Apple for a server factory in Texas, $100 billion from SoftBank, $55 billion from Oracle, which is a ways away from $5 trillion. OpenAI project Stargate over the next 20 years. These are long-term projects, and I'm not seeing $5 trillion, coming up near $5 trillion. That's not even near a trillion. And it's mostly made up by Apple, which is $500 billion. Now, Mexico chooses negotiations over tariffs. See, that was the thing. That was my biggest thing, is he drew a line in the sand, and he was able to use threats of tariffs, and these people were dancing. They were dancing like he was throwing little cherry bombs at their feet. They were doing whatever dance he wanted. Nobody crossed that line. If somebody doesn't cross the line, why do you pull the trigger? If somebody is willing to fold every hand, why do you ever need to show your cards? That way they don't know if you're bluffing or not. Once you pull the trigger, you have painted yourself you have pushed yourself in a corner. Now you are bound to do what you said you're going to do, or you look weak, which is going to lead us into a story here in a little while. So Mexico chooses negotiations over tariffs. They would rather negotiate and hope that we don't impose more tariffs and, kind of overlook the existing U.S. tariffs. They said that trade disputes, negotiations over confrontation and handling trade disputes, it's never good to do an eye for an eye. It always leads to a bad situation, emphasizing her approach to resolving trade issues through dialogue. Now, most of the world is not doing this. We have the EU and Canada who have joined together to figure out how they both put tariffs up, how they can work together to best hurt the U.S. economy. And this is kind of the consensus across the world. We are being hit across the world, and we will go through that here in a few. Now the Senate has come out, and this makes Trump look bad, to try to block Trump's tariffs, at least on Canada. And the Senate vote was 51-48 to block it, and it's going to the House. And one of the people I most respect in the Senate actually voted against Trump. Who was Rand Paul. And Rand Paul, he went after Fauci. He exposed the corruption in Ukraine and the corruption in the Senate for the complete disregard of human lives. He has always been an America first. Let me let the public know what's going on. I know everybody thinks these tariffs, you constantly hear people parroting, well, he did it in 2017 and they stimulated the economy. Well, this is not the same thing. This is turning into a trade war now, and is escalating more and more. And we will get to what it's costing. Not to mention, the 8 million American jobs that's from like 2 weeks ago or so. So we don't even know where we're at on that right now. But in dollar wise, we will get to what it's costing. Now, what's kind of funny is back in 1996, Pelosi was actually an advocate for tariffs on China. She expressed concern about the growing U.S.-China trade deficit and advocated for the implementation of tariffs on China imports to address the imbalance. She highlighted the disparity in tariffs, noting the U.S. tariff on China goods was 2%, while China's tariff on U.S. goods was 35%. Now, I understand that. That is something I can understand, going after China. We get a lot of stuff from China, but there's other places. You have Vietnam, you have, as far as textiles and stuff, there's other places to get stuff. I understand pressing China a little bit because that's not fair. To try to even things out. That's why I said this needs to be done with a scalpel. Not a sickle, a scalpel. So Amazon makes a bid to acquire TikTok before the U.S. ban. Amazon has submitted a last-minute bid to acquire TikTok ahead of the impending U.S. ownership ban deadline, which is actually today. So I'm wondering, what's going to happen? Because, it doesn't make sense to me because I got my TikTok account back, and I actually had to do it under another name, which you'll see in the description. It's America First Patriot. I don't have the Patriot Party TikTok back. I had to do another one. I did the same with YouTube. The rest of the platforms were the Patriot Party. But anyway, so when I got it back, it kept sending me this thing. If you refer a new user to TikTok, they'll give you $50. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why are they doing this if they're going to be banned? But, I just don't see ByteDance rolling over for America saying, yes, we will sell. Because it makes China look weak, I think. But I don't know. I don't see it happening. But I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they'll work something out with Trump. Trump said they were entitled to some of the profits. Maybe they'll work something out. I don't know. Now, this is really ridiculous. Kid Rock goes to the White House in comparable attire to what Zelensky went to the White House, the Oval Office. And people are criticizing it. Of course, people criticize it. But Kid Rock was not going there as an equal to sign a business deal and become a partner with the United States and the president and vice president of the United States. Kid Rock was going there as a friend, as a casual visit, as a rock singer. You got a president of another country who we've given billions of dollars to, who's supposed to be meeting, and this is a business meeting to go into business with the United States. So you can't compare it. It's apples and oranges. If I got a business meeting with someone to sign a business contract to go into business with somebody, and they're going to be wearing suits, I got to wear a suit. If I'm Kid Rock, a rock singer who's friends with them and goes out socially with them to UFC fights, I can wear casual wear. It's not the same thing. A female fencer is disqualified after protesting transgender competitor during a college fencing tournament. Stephanie Turner was disqualified and expelled after she protested by taking a knee, refusing to compete against Redmond Sullivan, a transgender woman who had previously competed on the men's team. So I'm going to go over here and compete with the men, and then I'm going to come over here and compete with the women. Why do they want to violate women's rights? That's my thing. You sit here and you say you want equality. Equality would be for you to have your own sport category, your own bathrooms. Why do you want to violate what women fought so hard for? That's where people have a problem. Because you don't want equal rights. You want their rights. So anyway, there's a lot of argument over that. So now we got a tech and finance story. XAI acquires X Corp. So this is Elon, one of Elon's companies acquires X Corp. So apparently XAI has acquired X Corp, which is formerly Twitter, in an all-stock transaction valuing XAI at $80 billion and X at $33 billion, which is, I think, about a $11 billion loss. When he bought it, it was $44 billion. I think it dropped all the way down at its lowest to like $7 billion, so he's brought it back up. After accounting for debt, this strategic merger marks a significant expansion for XAI, positioning it not only as a tech innovator, but also as a player in social media. Now, I thought XAI was just Grok. So I looked into it. And it says Aurora. This is directly tied to Grok. It's a text-to-image model integrated into Grok's functionality, allowing Grok to generate images alongside text. So it is a part of Grok in the sense that it extends what Grok can do. But Prompt IDE, this isn't a part of Grok itself, but a separate tool created by XAI. It's a development environment for redefining prompts and understanding how AI models like Grok work. While it can be used to improve interactions with Grok, it's not embedded in Grok. It's for developers and researchers working with various models. And then you got Grok API. This is an extension of Grok, but not a part. In the core sense, it's a way for external developers to access Grok's capability, text, code, and multimedia generation in their own applications. Think of it as a bridge between Grok and the outside world, not a component of Grok's internal makeup. Deep search and deeper search, these are linked to Grok but aren't strictly part of it. They're search engines that leverage Grok's ability and X data to provide answers introduced alongside Grok 3. They function as standalone services powered by Grok's tech rather than being featured or baked into Grok's core chatbot experience. Colossus supercomputer. This isn't part of Grok at all. It's the hardware infrastructure XAI built to train models like Grok. It's a behind-the-scenes enabler, not something users interact with or that's embedded in Grok without Colossus. Grok 3 wouldn't exist in its current form, but it's a separate entity. Then you got AI Gaming Studio Initiative. This is entirely distinct from Grok. It's an early-stage project to create AI-driven games, not a feature or component of the chat box. While it might eventually use tech similar to Grok's like generative AI, it's a separate venture aimed at a different audience and purpose. So, while Aurora and the Grok API are closely tied to Grok's functionality and deeper search build on its capabilities, Prompt ID, Colossus, and the Gaming Studio are independent efforts by XAI. They reflect XAI's broader mission to accelerate human scientific discovery beyond just the Grok chat box. Grok is a flagship product, but not everything XAI does is a piece of it. Some are tools, infrastructure, or new frontiers altogether. Now to the financial news. Now this is where we really break down what the tariffs have done to the markets. And it took me back. So, recent reports indicate the U.S. stock market has experienced substantial losses following the announcements and implementation of Trump's sweeping tariffs in early April 2025. The S&P 500 companies lost a combined $5 trillion in stock market value over 2 days, April 3rd and April 4th. After Trump unveiled these tariffs on Wednesday, April 2nd, this figure comes from analysis, tracking, and market reactions to the escalating global trade war sparked by the tariffs, including retaliatory measures from countries like China. On April 3rd, the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 1,679 points, around 4%. The S&P 500 fell 4.8%, and the NASDAQ declined nearly 6%, making the worst single-day percentage losses since 2020. I think that's COVID days for these indexes. The following day, April 4th, the Dow plunged further by over 2,200 points, a worse day, 5.5%, and the S&P 500 and NASDAQ each dropped nearly 6%. These declines wiped out more than $6 trillion in total U.S. market value over just 2 days. The primary catalyst for these drops, as widely reported, was Trump's aggressive tariff policy, which imposed a 10% tariff on nearly all U.S. imports, with higher reciprocal tariffs on specific countries, 34% on China, 20% on the EU, and on 24% on Japan. These are our allies, guys. This policy sparked fears of a global trade war, potential recession, and inflation, prompting investors to sell off stocks, particularly in sectors like technology and retail that rely heavily on global supply chains. China's retaliatory 34% on all U.S. goods announced in response further intensified the market rout on April 4th. So then that got me to thinking, because the markets for the past month, every week have been getting hit. Now this week was the worst, obviously. So I'm like, well, what have we lost over the past month? The market has lost $9 trillion over the last month. So then that got me to thinking, well, how much is the market worth? How much is that? That is 9 to 10% of the global market. The global market is valued at $90 to $100 trillion. That's 9 to 10% of the whole global market, and it is getting worse. So I'm going to tell you this, because this is what I have told my fiance. And now I'm telling you what we do. I'm not giving any financial advice. I'm just telling you what we do. In times like this and what is to come, this is the time to double down, in my view, to double down on investments, because this is when you get out, you buy them low, you sell them high, or you buy them low and you hold on in your 401k. So I told my fiance, I said, we need to up your percents, because most companies and stuff, they match 6%. I said we need to up your percents, so we're going to up it to 14%, which will average 20% of her salary, to start buying at these lower prices, because this is when you want to come in and you want to buy low, in my view. It's also a good time. Gold prices are going to continue to go up. They've gone up. They've gone up. They've gone up. Now, what I do when I invest in gold, I don't just buy gold bullion. I buy it twofold. So I'll buy something that's very collectible, that's also graded, what they call graded, by the two top grading companies, PCGS or NGC. I'll give you an example of 2 gold ounces I purchased this week. One was a Buffalo ounce. It was an early release MS69 NGC, and I got it for gold bullion price. But it's got a level of collectability in it as well, in case gold does go down, which I do not see it doing. The second was a painted wolf South African Cougran with the Paul Mint mark. There's only 132 that were minted in the world. This one's MS70, which is perfectly uncirculated, never been touched by a human hair. Ultra cameo, which means the stamp looks like it's coming out of the coin. There's probably 30 of them in the world. I paid a little bit over what gold value is, but the cheapest one I could find online from a rare coin dealer was $8,000. So I came into it with $4,000 equity in collectability. So when you buy gold, if you buy gold, you don't just want to buy bullion. You don't want to buy bars. You want to buy NGC, PCGS that are collectible, and you're not paying much over bullion to get collectible and bullion. Excuse me. Now, one thing I want to talk about before we go on. That's just what I like to do. As far as what we have her moved to, and we made her 401k. Her company had put her in some kind of fund, and I had her switch to Vanguard S&P 500 index fund or an ETF. Either one works. By Vanguard, they're the least expensive in management fees. And I think last year she went up 24%. Now a lot of it's been eaten up with what's going down, but this is when you buy it, in my opinion, because the S&P 500 index fund is the top 500 companies spread across. So if some lose and some gain, it manages it. But if you look at the historical data, even through the Great Depression, every year over the last 100 and some years since the formation of the stock market, it has gone up. It's the tried and true. It's not something you buy and sell like GameStop or any of those stocks, because those are ones you can lose your tail on. It's something you buy that makes you money for retirement. Same with gold. It's not something you buy that you're going to sell tomorrow. You're buying it to hold on to it. Now, last thing I wanted to say was, so the global market is valued at $90 to $100 trillion. That got me to thinking. And I'm like, so the whole global stock market, all these global companies are valued at $90 to $100 trillion. Our deficit is like 36, 37, whatever it is, trillion, $36 trillion. That's like 40% or so of the whole global stock market worth of companies. We're never going to pay that off. We're never going to pay it off. Ever. Now, on to celebrity news and gossip. That's done with the news. Done with the news and the financial and the tech and all that. And I hope you all enjoyed that. And now we're to celebrity news and gossip. Cardi B has threatened to expose dirt. She claims she has compromising information on multiple people, including her estranged husband, Offset, and threatened to reveal it. She accused Offset of using bloggers to tarnish her reputation, sparking a heated online feud. Blake Lively, spotted at a donut shop, was seen working at a donut shop, leading to speculation about whether it was a publicity stunt, a personal project, or a low-key career shift. This unusual sighting fueled gossip about her next move. Prince Harry ousted from charity. Rumors surfaced that Prince Harry was forced out of a charity he co-founded with little detail the cause. This has stirred a lot of chatter. Candace Owens versus House Inhabit drama. And I'm like, House Inhabit? A public spat between Candace Owens and an unnamed House Inhabit figure escalated online, drawing attention for its intensity. And I'm like, what is a House Inhabit? I guess I should probably know, but I have so much that I do with my own stuff and creative content and all that stuff that I used to watch Candace Owens and listen to her before I started my own stuff. I don't know anything about a House Inhabit, so I had to look it up. I'm like, what in the world is that? And it's just like, when I was looking up, it's like, it is not a place or a thing that Candace Owens possesses. It's an online persona of Jessica Reed Krause, a blogger and commentator. So apparently in March of 2025, Candace Owens, a prominent conservative commentator, and Jessica Reed Krause, known as House Inhabit, another right-leaning influencer, got into a public feud. The conflict started when Krause wrote a Substack post on March 22nd, subtly criticizing Owens for revisiting the Harvey Weinstein story, implying Owens was late to the topic Krause had already covered. Owens took offense, and the spat escalated online, mostly through Instagram stories. Owens accused Krause of jealousy and copying her style, while Krause fired back, flaunting her White House access and dismissing Owens' attack. The drama peaked around March 26th or 27th, with Owens addressing it on her YouTube show, Candace claiming Krause was spiraling and envious of her larger platform. This wasn't about a literal house or habit, but a clash of egos between two MAGA adjacent media figures. Both are mothers who blend politics with celebrity gossip, and the feud revealed tensions over originality, influence, and clout in conservative circles. Fans and detractors on X and Reddit ate it up, with some calling it mommy sleuth battle and others mocking the pettiness. It's less about substance and more about who gets to claim the spotlight in their niche. And this brings up, before I go on to more of this celebrity gossip and news, this brings something up. And I'd love for somebody to, comment on this for me. Give me some feedback. So I've had friends of mine who tell me that I need to start bringing people on to do interviews. And I know a lot of these, influencers, they grow their brand by bringing on, people to do interviews. And I just feel like, my niche is more like Dan Bongino, where he would get on his show and he didn't hardly ever bring on anybody. He would just talk about the news and his views and put it out there. And that's kind of where I feel I fall in. But I can bring on people, But if I bring them on, I've listened to the Charlie Kirk show. He kind of just lets them talk and drone on and drone on. If I brought somebody on, I'd want to bring them on, but I'd want to question what they were saying. I'd want to grill them a little bit. I don't know. What do y'all think? Do y'all enjoy the show? Do y'all enjoy me giving you, all this information and then breaking it down and doing the deep dives and the investigative reporting and bringing all this news to you? Or would you rather have me limit it to less and bring somebody on and go back and forth with them? I mean, that just seems to me like something that everybody's doing. I don't know. I'm new to this. I've got my ideas that I like to do, but I'd like to hear from y'all. Anyway, back to the celebrity news and gossip. RFK. Blackmail scandal rumors. Whispers of a blackmail scandal involving Robert F. Kennedy Jr. emerged. Though there's no concrete evidence that has surfaced, gossip circles are abuzz with speculation about political motives. Gigi Hadid named Havania's ambassador. Gigi Hadid has announced a new global brand ambassador for you know me with pronouncing some of this stuff. This is Havania's, with mentions of her role popping up around late March. Fans praised her fit for the laid-back brand. I don't really keep up with a lot of the celebrity stuff because I'm so entrenched and involved with the news, but I'm sure that you all that keep up with it know exactly what I'm talking about. I have no clue, to be honest with you. SZA spotted in L.A., though earlier in the month, SZA's March 11th sighting in Los Angeles gained traction in gossip circles March 31st, with fans speculating about new music or personal updates. Rita Ora on The Masked Singer. Rita Ora's appearance on The Masked Singer in March kept tongues wagging into late March, with viewers debating her performance and costume reveals. Bella Hadid and Hailey Bieber at Paris Fashion Week. Best friends Bella Hadid and Hailey Bieber were seen checking each other's makeup during Paris Fashion Week, a cute moment that went viral and fueled friendship goals chatter. Diddy accuser names big stars. The plot thickens. A new accuser claimed Diddy's sexual assaulted him at a Miami freak-off party, alleging Jay-Z, Beyonce, LeBron James, and Gloria Estefan witnessed his distress. The explosive allegations have ignited fierce debate and skepticism online. Man, I tell you, and I'm not accusing those people because, it may just be somebody trying to get attention. You never know these days. I mean, all you have to do is put something on social media and it goes freaking viral, and you don't have to have any proof of anything. All you got to do is say something. So I'm not by any means accusing or insinuating that these people did what he said. But it really baffles me how many of these Hollywood famous people, politicians, all these people, these big wigs, have these freaky fetishes, these inappropriate things that they do. It just amazes me how many of them would risk what they have for sexual preferences. Like it just amazes me. Like it really amazes me. And I guess amazed is the wrong word. It not only it disgusts me on some of it. Not these people specifically, but ones that have been proven. Weinstein and Bill Cosby and, these people that have done the things that they've done, but they are the idols that they are and have all that they have, and they risk it and end up losing it all and losing their respect and their dignity. And they had it all. And I don't understand. I just don't understand it. Anyway, Alu Ayan's birthday celebration. Alu Arjun celebrated his Alu Ayan's birthday with fans flooding social media with affectionate nicknames like Chinny Babu and wishes for his future reflecting the family's popularity. Sports. We got a brief rundown of sports in the United States over the past week. March 30th, we had MLB regular season games. The Major League Baseball season is underway with games like Pittsburgh Pirates versus Miami Marlins and Colorado Rockies versus Tampa Bay Rays. And these are all parts of the early season slate, showcasing teams fine-tuning their rosters post-spring training. March 30, we have NBA action. The Detroit Pistons face the Minnesota Timberwolves, a late season game as teams jostle for playoff positions or draft lottery odds depending on their standings. March 31st, NCAA men's basketball tournament Elite Eight. The Elite Eight wrapped up determining the final four teams. The 2025 NCAA Division I men's basketball tournament has been notably chalk heavy with all four number one seeds advancing to the Final Four, a rare occurrence that's only happened once before in 2008. These are the teams. Florida Gators, South Region number one seed. The Gators, led by a senior guard, Walton Clayton Jr., are making their first Final Four appearance since 2014. They clinched their spot with a dramatic Elite Eight comeback against Texas Tech, where Clayton's late game heroics, 30 points, including clutch threes, erased a double-digit deficit. Duke Blue Devils, which is from my home state, North Carolina. Duke undercoach John Sayer returns to the Final Four for the first time since 2022 and the program's 18th overall. Freshman star Cooper Flagg, 18.9 PPG, and the top-tier defense ranked fourth in efficiency, powered them through, including a dominant Elite Eight win over Alabama. Houston Cougars. Houston, coached by Kelvin Sampson, which is the Midwest number one seed, and Duke was the East Region number one seed. Anyway, back to Houston Cougars. Kelvin Sampson is back in the Final Four for the first time since 2021, marking Sampson's third trip. Their suffocating defense shown in an Elite Eight rout of Tennessee, holding the Vols to 15 first-half points. The Auburn Tigers, West Region number one seed. Auburn reaches the Final Four for the second time ever, the first since 2019, led by Johnny Broome. Points, rebounds, blocks leaders. They advanced with a strong Elite Eight performance, splitting regular season games with Florida, but eager for a semi-final rematch. These four Southeastern Conference and Atlantic Coast Conference powerhouses emerged from a tournament with just four upsets, the fewest in recent history. Per NCAA records, the Final Four games are set for Saturday, today, April 5th, Florida versus Auburn at 6:09 p.m. Eastern Time, and Duke versus Houston at 8:49 p.m. Eastern Time, both on CBS. April 1st, MLB and NBA continuation. April 2nd, USA Swimming, TYR Pro Swim Series, Sacramento. This event kicked off running through April 5th, held in Sacramento. It features top U.S. swimmers in a key pre-Olympic qualification window with prelims and final showcasing freestyle, backstroke, and more. April 5th, men's college basketball NIT championship scheduled at Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. This game crowns the National Invitation Tournament champ. It's a big moment for teams that missed the NCAA tournament but still vie for postseason glory. April 3rd through 6th, PGA Tour Valerie. Texas Opens starting today in San Antonio. This golf tournament is a lead up to the Masters. Top PGA players compete for a title and momentum heading into Augusta, with rounds broadcast on NBC and Golf Channel. April 4th, NCAA Women's Basketball Final Four. South Carolina Gamecocks, number 1 seed Birmingham, 3 region. The defending champions led by Coach Dawn Staley advanced with a 54-51 Elite 8 win over Duke. Their defensive grit and late game execution, highlighted by Chloe Kitts and Sania Fegans, combined 26 points, secured their 5th straight Final Four appearance. Texas Longhorns, seed 1, Spokane 4 region. Texas under Coach Vic Shafir reached their first Final Four since 2003 after 66-58 Elite 8 victory over TCU. Rory Harmon, 13 points, and Madison Booker, 18 points, led a balanced attack, overcoming offensive struggles against a tough Horned Frog defense. UCLA Bruins, number 1 seed, Spokane Region 1. UCLA punched their ticket with a 72-65 Elite 8 win over LSU, marking their first Final Four since 1988. Wow, you go. Go girls. Lauren Betts dominated with 30 points and 10 rebounds, leveraging her 6'7" frame. Wow. In a spread-out offense to outmatch the Tigers. UConn Huskies, number 2 seed, Spokane 4 region. UConn, coached by Geno Emi, advanced with an 80-73 Elite 8 triumph over USC despite Juju Watkins' absence for the Trojans. Paige Bucher's 31 points and 6 assists fueled their 16th Final Four trip in 17 years. Wow, chasing a 12th national title. These 4 teams, 3 number 1 seeds and 1 number 2 seed, represent a mix of perennial powerhouses, South Carolina, UConn, and resurgent programs, Texas and UCLA. They'll face off on April 4th, which was last night, with South Carolina versus Texas at 7 p.m. and UCLA versus UConn at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, both on ESPN. This lineup reflects the tournament's lack of major upsets, with top seed dominating as reports up to April 3rd. Last night, April 4th, was the women's NCAA Final Four. UConn defeated UCLA, and South Carolina beat Texas in the semifinals. This win sets up the championship game between UConn and South Carolina, scheduled for Sunday, April 6th. For the men's NCAA Final Four, the games are scheduled for tonight, April 5th, at the Alamodome in San Antonio, Texas. The matchups are Florida versus Auburn and Duke versus Houston, with tip-off shortly after 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and the second game following, as these games have not yet occurred. Movies. March 30th, Whitebird, released in theaters. Initially scheduled earlier but delayed to this date in some sources. Description. Set in Nazi-occupied France, this drama follows a young Jewish girl hidden by a boy and his family after her life is upended. A tale of compassion and friendship. It's a spinoff from Wonder, focusing on human kindness amid war, starring Gillian Anderson and Helen Mirren. No major theatrical or streaming releases are confirmed. April 1st, no major films. April 2nd, Steamboat. In theaters, a horror comedy takes on the public domain Steamboat Willie. This film features a rogue, homicidal mouse terrorizing passengers on a midnight boat ride in New York, starring David Howard Thornton, known for Terrifier as the killer rodent. It bends slapstick with scares. April 3rd, no major releases. April 4th, a Minecraft movie released in theaters, a live-action adaptation of the iconic video game. This adventure follows Garrett, the garbage man, Garrison, Jason, Momoa, and a group of misfits guided by Steve Jack Black through the blocky overworld to save it from danger. Featuring creepers, zombies, and crafting, it's a family-friendly action comedy with Jennifer Coolidge and Danielle Brooks. A Nice Indian Boy, released in theaters, a romantic comedy about love and culture identity, starring Jonathan Groff and Karen Sani. It follows a man navigating relationships and family expectations with humor and heart. Directed by Rawson Sethi. Eric LaRue, released in theaters. Description: Michael Shannon's directorial debut. This drama stars Judy Greer as a mother grappling with her aftermath of her son's shooting. A heavy exploration of guilt, faith, and healing with Alexander Skarsgård and Tracy Letts. Freaky Tales, released in theaters, an action comedy anthology set in 1980s Oakland, weaving 4 interconnected stories with a punk vibe, starring Pedro Pascal, Ben Mendelsohn, and Jay Ellis in a wild ride from directors Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. Hell of a Summer, released in theaters, a horror comedy co-directed by Finn Wolfhard. This follows camp counselors facing a mass killer with Fred Heckniger and Abby Quinn. It's a bloody, funny nod to slasher classics. The Luckiest Man in America, released in theaters, a drama based on the 1984 Press Your Luck scandal, where a contestant, Walton Goggins, exploits a game show glitch. Directed by Paul Tamsey. It's a quirky true crime tale with Eddie Marsan. William Tell, in theaters, an epic historical action film about the legendary Swiss marksman Klaus Bang, resisting tyranny with Ben Kingsley and Jonathan Pryce. Is a visually striking take on the classic folk tale. TV shows, March 30th, Mobland, Platform, Paramount, a gritty drama series exploring the underworld of organized crime, following a family entangled in a dangerous web of loyalty and betrayal after a shocking event upends their lives, a fresh narrative with a focus on mob dynamics in a modern setting. The Last Anniversary, AMC Plus, adapted from Liana Moriarty's novel. This mystery drama centers on a woman inheriting a house on a secluded island, unraveling family secrets, and a decades-old disappearance. A blend of suspense and emotional depth marks this debut. The Divorce Insurance, on March 31st, Platform Apple TV, a sharp, satirical drama about a company offering policies to protect against the financial fallout of divorce, following its quirky employees and clients as they navigate love, loss, and legal loopholes. Gone Girls, the Long Island Serial Killer, Netflix, a chilling docuseries diving into the unsolved crimes of the Long Island serial killer, blending investigative journalism with personal stories of the victims' families to shed new light on a haunting mystery. The Death Coast, which is April 1st, Platform History, Description, historical docuseries examining deadly maritime disasters along treacherous coastlines, combining survivor accounts, expert analysis, and archival footage to uncover tales of tragedy and resilience. April 2nd, 2025, the Parison Agency, exclusive properties, Platform, Netflix, Description, a reality series following a family-run luxury real estate firm in Paris, showcasing extravagant properties and the drama of high-stakes deals with a mix of glamour and personal rivalries. Oklahoma City bombing, One Day in America, Platform, National Geographic, Description, a gripping docuseries chronicling the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing, offering a minute-by-minute recounting through eyewitness testimonies, unseen footage, and its lasting impact. April 3rd, Pulse, Platform, Netflix, Description, Netflix first English language medical procedural, Set in a Miami trauma center during a hurricane, it follows Dr. Danny Sims, thrust into leadership as she navigates chaos, a secret past, and a life or death decisions. The Bondsman. Prime Video. Description: an action horror series starring Kevin Bacon as a bounty hunter back from the dead, hunting supernatural fugitives while grappling with his own dark resurrection, a wild mix of thrills and eerie twists. Dying for Sex on April 4th, FX, and streaming on Hulu. Description: a bold drama inspired by a true story. And starring Michelle Williams as a woman with terminal cancer who embarks on a journey of sexual rediscovery, blending raw emotion with provocative choices. Karma. Platform Netflix. Description: a tense drama about a group of strangers connected by a single fateful event, exploring how their actions ripple through their lives in unexpected karmic ways. A fresh take on morality and consequence. Secrets. Declassified with David Duchovny. Platform History. Description: a docuseries hosted by David Duchovny, peeling back the curtain on classified government mysteries from UFOs to covert ops with expert interviews and declassified files. The Never Ever Mets. Platform OWN. Isn't that the Oprah Winfrey Network, I think? OWN. A reality dating show where online couples meet in person for the first time, testing their digital chemistry in real-world challenges packed with romance, awkwardness, and surprises. Iyanu, Platform Cartoon Network, an animated series inspired by Nigerian folklore, following a teenage orphan with a newfound prowess as she battles evil forces to save her village. A vibrant, culturally rich superhero tale. April 5th, Beer Budget Reno, A&E, a home renovation reality series where budget-conscious DIYers transform rundown properties with limited funds, offering practical tips and plenty of creative chaos. Lazarus, Adult Swim is the platform. I've never heard of that. Description: an anime series about a scientist creating a drug that revives the dead, sparking a global crisis as society grapples with consequences. Dark, stylish, and packed with existential dread. Now, finally, to the pick of the week. My pick of the week this week is The Blacklist. It's an American crime thriller series that follows Raymond Red Reddington, a former government agent turned high-profile criminal who surrenders to the FBI with an offer to help catch dangerous criminals from his own list, called the Blacklist, but only if he works with rookie profiler Elizabeth Keene. The show blends procedural cases with a deeper mystery about Red's connection to Liz. Excuse me. It aired on NBC. It's a little bit of a throwback from September 2023 or 2013 all the way to July of 2023. There are 10 seasons. You can binge watch the heck out of this. Now it's streaming on Netflix. It is a heck of a show. It will grab you. It is fun. It is sad. It is good. It pulls every emotion. Every heartstring is edge of your seat. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I think you all will too. So that is my pick of the week. I hope that you all have enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Y'all have a great weekend and a great week. And I will see you same place, same time next week. Y'all be safe out there. Thanks for listening.